Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan.
I'm Ryan.
And this is the podcast where we talk about two movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But before we get into this week's episode, be sure to go over to patreon.com/Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. We have a bunch of bonus episodes where we talk about random topics. And you know what, Ryan? It won an award for Worst Patreon Podcast. So if you love Razzie and Worst Film Awards,
What?
you might as well go over to the Worst Patreon Podcast Award winner, right? But they always pick the wrong ones. They like to pick on the big podcast. So I get it.
I hope to win a Razzie one day.
That would be fun. It would be cool to win a Razzie, an honorary Razzie, even though, let's just try to be in the worst movies ever.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we could do? They did make a sequel to this movie years later. If they make a third one, let's be in it. So today we are talking about Showgirls from 1995. This is an erotic drama directed by Paul Verhoeven and starring Elizabeth Banks.
Berkeley.
I know. I realize I'm so thrown off right now. I said Elizabeth. Woo. Oh man.
This movie's got you all flustered,
yeah.
all hot
and
bothered.
Woo. Yeah. I'm flustered the whole time. I couldn't. I was jittery.
You're like when you're watching it, you're like adjusting your neck collar and steam's coming out. Like,
yeah. And now I have to keep all this in. so yes, it is. It does not star Elizabeth Banks. It stars Elizabeth Berkley. Who could forget Elizabeth Berkley? Saved by the Bell. Yeah, no. Most people have. Saved by the Bell star. This is like her big. She had been in a few movies, but this is her big movie, and she's starring in it. Showgirls is a very infamous movie. It's a movie I've known about for a very, very long time, known to be just a huge bomb, one of the widest NC-17 releases of all time, and also just poorly reviewed, considered an awful movie. I've never seen it, have always been interested in it. How about you, Ryan?
Oh yeah, I've known about this movie for a pretty long time. I remember, I think the first time I remember hearing about it was like in Scream 2 when they're like, because do you remember there's like the scene where the Ghostface calls Randy and he said, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And he says, "Showgirls."
Yeah, good stuff.
And I remember seeing it on DVD for the longest time, and I think maybe VHS at Blockbuster, but I mean, I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's one of those rental store staples. I remember seeing it like everywhere. It's just like a very striking poster too, where it's like the naked lady, but it only shows like the middle of her body, and it's in between like the logo for the movie Showgirls. And my first exposure, actually, because when I was younger, I used to just go to movie trailer websites and I would just watch movie trailers. But it was like back when the internet was crap and you had to wait like 15 minutes for a video to play. And I used to watch this trailer. I wonder why. But yes, I used to watch this trailer. And so it's just kind of been in my mind for a very long time.
Your eyes can't bugged out like a cartoon character.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa, I can watch this on a movie trailer website.
And then like your tongue like unrolled, like
my heart was popping out of my chest.
Yeah.
Too bad. I should have gone back and told my younger self, "Don't. This movie sucks. Stop.
This movie won a Razzie. What are you doing?"
Yeah, stop. Yeah, it's not cinema. It's funny though. This movie is known to be like awful, a flop. It's kind of had a reappraisal. A lot of people have come back to it. A lot of people have fun with it. It's a trashy movie. So I kind of came in maybe a little more positively, like, hey, I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with it. And I mean, here's the thing. I did have some type of fun with it. It is trashy. It's stupid, but it's a very interesting movie. It's the kind of movie you can't take your eyes off of while watching.
No, it's safe to say I was not bored during this movie.
No.
I was kind of coming in with the same expression. I was just like, or the impression was that, okay, it's not going to be as bad. It's not going to be god awful. It's going to be kind of like, but like I also think it's kind of ridiculous. Like there are some people that are reappraising it and they're like, oh no, this is a masterpiece of
Yeah.
cinema. Like,
Yeah.
like people that are like, oh no, this is like a great movie. And I'm like, I wasn't thinking that either. I was like, it's probably gonna be somewhere in between,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be something like that. But yeah, I was not I was I mean, the story of this movie is pretty interesting. I mean, I was pretty hooked on the story part of the movie.
Yes, yeah. No, I agree. I don't think it's a bad idea, and I get it. So part of the making of this movie that I find really interesting is this is written by Paul Esterhaus, who is uh
Joe, isn't it?
yeah, sorry, I was mixing the director and the writer. Yes, it's Joe Esterhaus, who wrote the idea down on a napkin, went up to MGM, said, I want to make this movie. They gave him $2 million to write the script. The idea was that good that MGM was like, here, take this. But it also helps that he wrote Basic Instinct, which was a huge hit.
Now,
Um,
do you think MGM kept that napkin?
it's framed somewhere. I really hope so. No, they probably burnt it though. That's the thing. Well, no, we'll talk about the box office a little bit later. But yeah, this movie was just overblown, really promoted. NC-17, like it was just like a big deal at the time to have a wide release for an NC-17 movie,
I,
because that doesn't happen. Since this movie, that has not happened again.
was there ever an R-rated version of this movie, or was there,
Not
or was it just the NC-17 version?
not in theaters. In theaters, it was NC-17, and then Paul actually went and cut it down to an R for a physical for when it went to VHS and well, at the time, I guess just VHS. There was
I
an
get, or I
R-rated
guess like
NC-17.
so they could play it on like HBO too or something.
Exactly. I guess there's a TV cut of this movie, which
Oh God.
that has to be like only what, an hour an hour long maybe. They really go all in for the nudity and sex in this movie. I mean, it makes sense. It's what it's at least it's open, it knows what it is. It's a movie all about nudity, and I can imagine that a lot of people rented this because it was a huge rental hit. Made tons of money in rentals and people buying the movie because of the TNA. That's really what the movie was about to a lot of people.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I don't think I think people wanted to watch this movie in the privacy of their own home. So I think
Exactly, not in the theater.
yeah, so that's why this movie was a big hit on the home video circuit.
Yeah, but I guess since we're already talking about it, box office wise, it made $37 million, which I don't think is anything to scoff at. That's not bad for a movie like this. It just cost 45 million to make, which this movie probably should have never cost that much to make. Especially with, and let me say this, you were right. The story I found interesting. I think the thing that kills the movie for me, honestly, is Elizabeth Berkley. I don't know if it's a mixture of her acting and her character, both intertwined to make it just like she's a hard character to follow, and you don't have to like all the characters you follow in a movie, of course, but something about this one I just really couldn't stand following.
I was having such a hard time just like pinpointing her personality.
Yes.
Because she is very cagey and very aggressive at the start of this movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
when people are asking too many questions or getting too close to her, she immediately lashes out at them.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just very has like this nervous energy all the time. Like she's just always on edge. And anytime there are meetings or when she's talking with people, it's like, well, why do you want to know that? Like, why do you care so much? Yeah, it's it's very odd, a very odd performance, and
Mm-hmm.
it's something that I don't really think she accomplished the goal of what they were trying to go for.
Yeah.
But I will say, I don't think that is necessarily her fault either.
That's why I'm like I'm it's a little hard for me to be like it's her acting. I think it's just the character's writing. It honestly it's just like a mix of emotions that are so unhinged, or like have no, like sometimes there are scenes where she's completely happy and then 2 seconds later she will be just angry, fuming, and then back to happy. It's like this wild mix of emotions. It's just really hard to pin down, and I'll be honest, no, she does overact sometimes. Like the overacting is really there.
Yeah, but I mean, I still don't really feel like that was
Her
her
fault.
fault. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was the direction of it. And I mean, because I
Mm-hmm.
went and looked at interviews with Paul Verhoeven,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just like, "Hey, like this movie was not her fault. I told
Mm-hmm.
her to act a certain way. Because I wanted it to be very over the top, and I wanted it to have like this energy about it. So when he's the one pretty much taking all the blame for this. And I mean, one thing we have to say too about this movie is that this movie completely ruined Elizabeth Berkley's career.
Yeah,
Like,
which sucks.
complete nosedive on it.
Yeah.
And that's why when we say like I don't think it's her fault, like that's one thing I kept thinking of while I was watching it. It was
Mm-hmm.
just like, I kind of feel bad for her like, as a person, like in real
Mm-hmm.
life, just because I mean, I remember reading reviews and stuff for this movie, talking about how bad she was and everything. And even the Razzies, I think she won worst actress. So
Yes. Yeah.
it's it's really unfair, because I feel like there are sometimes, actors are to blame when they want to take a character in a certain direction. But
Yeah.
considering this is her very first starring vehicle, so she's probably taking a lot of direction from Paul
Yeah.
Verhoeven.
And to be honest, it's a really bold first movie to take. I mean, to do this much nudity for a movie and do like a role that's really complex because she's not a good character, not somebody really we're supposed like. I don't know. I guess it's a character that like you don't immediately love, right? And it definitely is a hard role to take on. And I think that, like you said, that kind of killed her career a little bit, along with it just being a funky movie. I think it just really hit at a bad time too. I don't know, in the mid 90s, I feel like pretty volatile when it comes to like bad movies. When I think of like the Razzies and like the worst of all time, these movies are like still talked about as like some of the worst ever made.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I mean, like I think a lot of the Razzies from like the '80s, like
mhm.
nobody ever thinks about I mean, like what was it? Can't Stop the Music. One worst picture, the
Yeah,
very first one. It's like who talks about that movie? Nobody.
no,
And but now it's like you get Showgirls, striptease, a bunch of other movies that were nominated in the '90s, and I was just like, that was just like prime Razzie years,
yeah,
like
it
that whole
was.
decade.
Yeah, that was like the golden era, and like that's when they became more noticed. I think because I learned about the Razzies from my parents. They were the ones that like, oh yeah, the Oscars. There's like the Razzies that does the worst. So like it was just like knowledge that everybody had. Um, but let's go ahead and just like dive into the plot of this movie. So the movie is about Nomi Malone, who is hitchhiking at the very beginning of the movie. Hitchhikes with like this Elvis like look-alike, but not really, not like in the Vegas way, but he just kind of looks like him. He's got a hairstyle. And she gets duped right from the beginning. He hands her a 10 and is like, "Hey, baby, you can go do some slots while I take care of this." And he steals everything from her. Uh,
Well, well, I like the scene because she goes in and she immediately wins a jackpot, and
yeah,
she's just like she was like woohoo, and just like gets all the quarters and like
uh-huh.
yeah, and
But
and
but
then
this is
immediately loses it all.
yeah, but that this sets the tone of the movie, right? It's almost like what do you foreshadowing because she's over here, yeah, I want all this money, and then immediately after she loses it all and it's like God, just angry, like like so upset, like I think she pushes somebody in that scene out of the way, which then she goes outside to the car to find out she loses her briefcase, and then her friend for the rest of the movie is there. And what a crazy introduction to this character, because could you imagine meeting somebody just on the street and they're pushing you around and they're like, I don't want your help. I don't want your help, vomiting. And then you're like, you know what? Let's be friends and live together.
Yeah, well, she's hitting her car because she's mad because her suitcase was on, and then she
Uh-huh.
runs over. It's like, hey, what are you doing to my car? And then she's just like, then she gets mad at her because she's interrupting her hitting her car.
Yeah, her hissy fit. And this character is Molly, played by Gina Rivera. And Yeah, and then they move in. That's the next scene. Cut to them living
Yeah.
together for a few
2 months
months.
later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 months later. And then she Nomi is kind of making it as a dancer at the Cheetah Club. I'm not mixing up the strip clubs in both of our movies, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the other was the
cheetah.
Eager Beaver. That's right.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Cheetah's topless club where she's a dancer, which Robert Davi is the owner of this, so a returning actor. Love to
Yeah. I'm
see
like,
him.
woo, license to
Yeah.
kill.
Hey, you know what? I kind of like Robert Davi, so I'm all right with him in this, and he plays a perfect sleazebag owner of a strip club.
Yeah.
Um,
And yeah, he has a really funny moment where, he's like, there's a new dancer being introduced, and it's just
mhm.
like, oh, hey, like if they, if you're allowed to touch them, they're not allowed to touch you. If he pulls his thing out and he and he and he comes, that like kick him out. But if he leaves a big tip, it's okay. Like,
Yeah, that's his thing the whole movie. It's like he's willing to break the rules, like if like oh they pay big, that's where he draws the line. And he also has like a sidekick who's like a large lady, who is like a side character for this whole movie. And this is kind of like this movie is funny because it just has like these weird side characters and like weird things that happen because she has like this dress that she like hits a button and her boobs pop out and she's just like uses it like the whole movie. Even like she's meeting way later in the movie when Nomi's made it and they're just meeting in like a public place. She's like, "Oh, great job, girl!" Whoop whoop. It's just the
yeah,
boob pulling out thing. I'm like, what are you doing?
yeah, and she has like a whole thing because she's overweight. That's like,
Yeah.
and like, because that's the whole point of her act is, she talks about how overweight she is, like in her act, and
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
and but that's a ridiculous character. That another one. Well, like we haven't said, like her whole dream is to be like a dancer,
Yes, to be a
and
dancer in like a Las Vegas show.
well, yeah, because there's a big show at Stardust called
Goddess.
Goddess,
Yeah.
and that's that's it's like a big topless like dance show, but it's like a
Mhm.
big like Broadway musical, a huge thing, and she wants to become a dancer, and she meets another guy named James
Yeah.
at a club, and
Mhm.
everyone just talks about in the movie like how much she sucks as a dancer, like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, wait, like how is she gonna like get this big part if she's like everyone's keep like I think because Gina Gershon shows up and
Mhm.
she compliment she tells her what a terrible dancer she is. She's like, hey, that dancing may be good for the cheetah, but it ain't good for the goddess, and
Mhm.
James is like, she's dancing on him, and he's like, she's like, that's not dancing, like that's just that I don't want to say, but it's
Yeah.
but yeah, he basically he said no, it's something sexual that you're doing, so
Exactly. Yeah. But no, I agree. Everyone craps on her dancing, but she still makes it to the top and rises through the ranks. It's kind of a mix. Everyone craps on her, but then sometimes they're like, oh, but she has a lot of energy. She's really going for it. She's strong, which she does. Elizabeth Berkley, when she dances in this movie, it's like almost violent. I don't know if you notice it. It's like very angry. Like she's
yeah.
like doing her moves and it's like she's like punching. It's very interesting. I'll say that. Um,
That I mean, it just matches her character in the movie. So
it
it's
really does. If anything, this is making me understand her character a little bit more. She's just got some anger issues.
yeah, definitely.
Uh,
But
but yeah, she meets James, and they James is kind of almost like kind of stalkerish almost, and he really is interested in
um,
her and wants to teach her how to dance, but he also is like he also has a problem with women and is will sleep with anybody and uses like tricks to sleep with them.
well, I mean, like, I just want to say the only good person in this movie is Molly, like her friend. That's like the only like
Oh yeah,
good, 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 good moral character in this movie.
exactly. She has her morals. She works on the goddess show. She helps repair clothes, and she's kind of Nomi's. moral compass, but Nomi doesn't really listen to her. But it's just a character there to be like, this is what you should be doing, Nomi.
Yeah, and because I mean, like in James, like he tries to be like, oh, well, I just wanted to show you how to dance, that type
Mm-hmm.
of thing. Like I wanted to just teach you,
Mm-hmm.
but then he's like, oh, well, I want to show you how to dance, but he pretty much wants her to like sleep with him in order. Like he's like,
Yes.
I'm not gonna do and show you how to dance or put you in my show until you sleep with me, type of thing.
Well, yeah, that's it. I thought the way the movie would have gone and gone, and I'm glad it didn't because it would have been maybe a little cliche. Because she catches him using that tactic on another girl to sleep with her. Which did you notice that girl's also in the movie we're talking about on Thursday?
Oh no, I didn't.
Yeah, she's a dancer in that movie too, which I think is really funny.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, but she finds out, and I thought it would be like James would be like, no, you're really special to me, and I think we should do a show together. And I would think that I was like, oh, Nomi's gonna forgive him, and then they'll actually do it. But no, he's
Well,
pretty.
yeah.
They don't do the show together.
Well, yeah, so because he's planning his own show because he's
Yeah.
kind of like a down on his luck guy, and he's going from job to job. And I thought that was going to be like the thing too, where it was
Mm-hmm.
going to be like she becomes really like she turns down like a gig at the Goddess, and then she
Mm-hmm.
ends up doing James's show, and it begins up becoming like a huge hit or whatever. And
Yes. Yeah.
but no, like James does his show, and it's a complete and utter flop. Like
Everyone
everyone
hates it.
hates it.
Well, it's like more of an avant-garde show because there's like chairs and he's doing like dances and there's like three other women doing dances because we see it, but they're doing it at the Cheetah Strip Club, which I don't think people go to the Cheetah. It doesn't seem like the type of strip club where you go and see like a Vegas show. You just want to see naked women dancing. So
Yeah.
seems like the worst venue you could possibly do a show at.
Yeah, I didn't understand what they were trying to go for there, but it was just like, and but then he find out he gets one of the girls pregnant, and it's just like, okay, I'm out of the movie now, bye.
Yeah, it's total side character. It's just a weird subplot to this movie, which I guess is what makes it interesting. Is like there's so much going on. He also gets one of the most famous lines in this movie
Oh
where
God,
yeah,
yeah,
everybody out here got AIDS and shit.
yeah.
Just what a great line.
Well, yeah, because like Gina Gershon and Kyle MacLachlan uh,
Mm-hmm.
coming in, and
Mm-hmm.
they saw an interest in Nomi, and they went to the Cheetah, and they did like a couple's lap dance with her,
Mm-hmm.
where Elizabeth Berkley gets like completely naked and pretty
Mm.
much just has sex with Kyle MacLachlan while he's wearing his clothes, like
Mm-hmm.
just grinding him and everything, and it's just again like a very off-putting scene, just like
Oh,
not
it's
like it's supposed to be sexy, but it's not at all.
no, it's uncomfortable because
Yeah,
Kyle MacLachlan, I don't know, he's giving really weird faces the whole time, and he's making these noises. It's a hard scene to watch,
well,
and Gina's just watching.
he's got like his hair like this like the whole time.
Yeah,
Like yeah, like
he's got the emo cut.
yeah, he's got like imagine Peter Parker in Spider-Man 3 when he's doing like
Yes,
that's exactly what Kyle
yeah,
MacLachlan looks
that
like in this movie.
that was perfect, and I hate it. It is a horrible look. I hate that they did that to this man. How did you feel about his character?
Oh, I mean, he's a total scumbag, and but
Yeah, I
I
loved
mean,
watching him.
but I mean, I don't know what it was, but I just was he was a very entertaining character, and I'm
He
like,
was.
it's like I hate his guts, but every
Yeah.
time he's on screen, it's just because he's playing it up big time too,
Oh yeah, he's
and
having
yeah,
fun with it.
and even and Gina Gershon too, she is
Uh,
like an evil woman too, where she's just like she's at the top of the ladder at the Goddess, and she
mhm.
does not want to give this part up for anything, and she's willing to you know push other women down, anyone that tries to challenge her.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that Gina is the best part of this movie. I actually think she's pretty good playing this like evil lady because every step of the way she puts Nomi down because Nomi does end up getting spot at the Goddess. Even though her audition goes horrible, they still want
Oh,
her.
oh God, that scene was something
Oh,
else.
it was rough, yeah. But I mean, it's probably the most realistic part because I mean, they Joe Esterhaus and Paul Verhoeven, they interviewed like 200 Las Vegas strippers, and they also like were I mean, sorry, they were basing it off of like stories that they had. So I almost think that it's realistic. Maybe it shouldn't have been played so much for laughs at some points. But
Yeah,
yeah, but this audition, they're like dancing, kicking, and everything, and they forced to put ice on their nipples, and Nomi's just like no, and like hits the dude, runs away, and they're like, no, I kind of like that girl, bring her back.
yeah.
I,
I like the. It's so mean because it's like a scene you've seen before, where it's a guy going down each woman and just pointing out all of her flaws.
mm-hmm.
And one girl is like, it's like, hey, do I recognize you? She's like, yeah, you told me to get my nose fixed, and I did. He's like, great. So now your ears are sticking out. You need to go get those fixed. Come back when you get those fixed. And it's like,
Yeah,
damn.
yeah. So it's like very demeaning.
Yeah, but I mean, that's pretty much what the scene is trying to go for. I mean, I know Joe Esterhaus, he was
Mm-hmm.
trying, he was very passionate about the movie from what I read, where it was
Yes,
just
yeah.
because he really believed that, this was some type of subject that wasn't tackled before, where it's just like all these women were being exploited and they were just totally taken advantage of. He was just like urging people to like go see this movie, just because
Mhm.
he put so much time and effort into it. But that's kind of what this movie is doing, though, is that almost every time, there's some a poor girl is like being exploited in some way, where they're like they they have to go to like a boat show, and like investors show up, and
Mm.
the entertainment director is like, hey, why don't we go back up to my place and we'll have some more fun, like with some of our clients here. And it's just like kind of like the, you got to do this type of thing.
Yep.
And
But she says no. And then she complains to Kyle McLaughlin. And
that's a great scene.
oh yeah, yeah, fantastic scene where he's like chewing the guy. I was like, don't you ever do that again. And then as soon as Nomi leaves, he pulls out his cell phone. He says, "Get back here, you dumbass. Let
Yeah,
me talk to you."
yeah,
Yeah, no, and that's kind of what his character's there for. He's super nice to Nomi, but like behind her back, he is like the biggest scumbag possible. I mean, that's the thing. Nomi is just surrounded by complete scumbags this whole movie. But she ends up kind of succumbing to like to pushing her way to the top because the reason she had to go to that boat show was because of Gina. And what is her name? Crystal. She has to go because of Crystal, and just Crystal is pushing her down, and there's like a fight for to be her understudy. And Nomi actually sleeps with Kyle MacLachlan's character to get that, and she doesn't get it. Well,
well,
I don't know if she slept with him to
no,
get that, but it was kind of like almost implied like, oh, we are going to give this to you.
well, no, she slept with him, and then the next day he
Mm-hmm.
said, hey, there's going to be an audition for her understudy, you should do that. And
Yes, yeah.
which we didn't even talk about that scene, the sex scene in the pool, which was
Yeah, where
another ridiculous scene where it's just
yeah,
like they're having sex in the pool, and it's the probably the most like comic one of the most comical sex scenes you'll see.
yeah. If if it's probably one of the fakest sex scenes because she is just like slamming back on the pool, like doing these wild emotions.
Like
And
her whole
Kyle's
body is flailing around, like
yeah.
like
And
shock.
from what I remember, Kyle's just kind of standing there.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so goofy. And this is after they drive down the strip in his nice new Ferrari.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but yeah, so she doesn't get that, and so in retaliation, she's standing behind her on down the stairs and pushes her down the stairs. And somehow everyone just is like, nope, she didn't do it because only one other girl is like, No, I saw her. She didn't do it, which is that's a whole nother subplot in this
Yeah, that's
movie.
like yeah, that's like a whole other C plot of this movie where it's like
Yeah.
two girls like do not like each other, and one girl is trying to get one over on her.
Yeah, yeah, and they fight like the whole movie. Like one brings their kids in and she's like, "Shut those damn kids up." And like is yelling at the kids and what does she do? How does she hurt her again? Oh, she
Well, the
drops beads on the ground. That's right.
right, they're doing a dance rehearsal, and there's a move where one of the male dancers lifts up each of the women dancers, and one of the girls, the girl that she's rivaling against or feuding with, she throws beads on the ground, and the guy slips and drops her, and she ends up breaking her leg, I think.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I think it was her knee, right?
Knee, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that ends her career. And so that leads into that. Damn, this movie's crazy. It is a long movie.
But yeah, that scene though, because that one girl like stuck up for Nomi, and it's like, no, that she just fell. Nomi didn't do anything. It
Mhm.
was because it was funny because later, like, because Nomi obviously gets the leading role. She gets Gina Gershon's part, and then
Yeah.
that same girl comes up to her later. It's like, hey, Nomi, like, you think I could be your understudy? She's
Mhm.
like, yeah, like,
Yeah.
because
Like I
basically he's
have
like,
to.
right, like she's blackmailing her, like basically like, hey, you got to make me your understudy, or I'm going to tell her what actually happened.
Yeah. And it's really interesting though. I do feel like if there was one thing like this movie does, it rushes the ending really fast. Like there's like
Yeah,
there's something happens at the end of the movie and then it's like all downhill from there 20 minutes and then we're out. Like that's what it felt like. So they go to a party and there's like this musician that's kind of been
Andrew Carver.
yeah, Andrew Carver that's just kind of been over the movie this whole time. There's posters like he's
I,
coming to town and
he
everything.
yeah, he looks like Michael Bolton kind of.
That's so in the background of Molly's room, I saw the picture of him, but I didn't see the name. I was like, why does she have a Michael Bolton poster? And then I was like, oh no, okay, this is that Carver guy because Molly loves this guy. It's like absolutely like into him. And this is one of the scenes, like the reason this has an NC-17. She meets him and they go like on a date at a party. Well, not a date, but they go upstairs to a party, and he and his bodyguards have their way with her, and it's like a huge sexual assault scene, and it's rough. It's rough. It's quick, but it is violent, and supposedly the actress had a really hard time doing this scene, and it was a 9-hour shoot to do this part of the movie. And you can really tell it's very visceral, and it's hard to watch.
Well, yeah, because I mean, at the end result, she's basically beaten within an inch of her life, and
Exactly, and she's in the hospital.
she's got her face is all swollen, and she's got
Mm,
blood like all over her legs, and
mhm.
it's disgusting. And that's I, I really hated that scene. I was just
Me
like,
too.
I was like, I'm already well aware that these women are being exploited and everything, and that this is
Mhm.
a really disgusting industry, and it's like, oh no, we have to just push this over the edge. We have to
Yeah.
go there, and I'm like, I kind of assume because they make allusions to this earlier in the movie. Like I said, like at the boat party where it's like
Mhm.
you have to sleep. Like you have to sleep with these people, and just type like women being put in these situations they don't want to be put into. And this
Mhm.
one, it's like I again, like I don't know why the need for. I really felt like they're like, oh, we have to put this scene in there. We have.
Yeah, and it had to happen to the most moral character in the story, like
Yeah,
total loss of innocence. And then it becomes a revenge movie.
I
Yeah.
did not expect that at all.
No, yeah, Nomi is like, okay, well, this happened, you know what? And she goes to Carver pretending to be an escort, going to like give him a private dance. And instead, she kicks the crap out of him. What a wild scene. She like roundhouse kicks this man like multiple times. And of course, she's naked too. And it's interesting, and then she runs away. It's like over. Like I guess she just kind of decides her career's over. She kisses Crystal on the mouth, by the way. That they make sure that that happens for whatever reason.
Well, yeah, well, because that's kind of what it like. There's this weird like energy between the two of them because it's very much implied that Crystal is like not in love, but like sexually attracted to Nomi, and
Yes, yeah.
because they have we didn't even talk about that, like the dance duel that they had against each other.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, like they're dancing, and then like Crystal like rips off like Nomi's top, and
Uh-huh.
and like
Yeah.
and then she's like, "Oh, like I'm out of here," type of thing.
Yeah, she's like just angry.
That was a very odd scene, but yeah, they um very odd like sexual tension between the two of them, and even at the end of the movie, like when she goes to confront Crystal to basically say, "I'm sorry for
Yes.
doing this to you," Crystal is just kind of like, you know what, I get it. It
I would have done the
happens.
same
I
thing.
would have done the same thing. Just
But give me a
like
kiss.
yeah, and I don't know. I for one thing I will say about this movie, it does drag for me. It does
Oh,
drag.
yeah. Yeah, it's way too long and way too many subplots. I do think there's interesting bits, but I think once it got to once it got to the rape scene, it was really like hard to watch from that point on. And I felt like it totally lost everything.
Yeah. I mean, as a whole, I mean, I can't.
It's I get
It's
it.
hard to pinpoint what I actually think. I'm kind of leaning towards I didn't like it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
no, I agree. I tried to explain this movie. I've been trying to process my thoughts on this movie for real, and I don't know how I really feel about it. It's one of those movies. Like, it's bad. I know it's a bad movie. It was entertaining though, but like it was also dragged. It's like it just like Nomi the character. The movie feels like two polar opposites, like at one time. So that's why I say I agree. I want to say overall, I don't recommend it. I don't think it's worth seeking. But if you
I
saw it, I don't think you would have a bad time.
I would say overall to the average moviegoer, I would not recommend this movie at
No,
all. I
no.
mean, if you love trashy movies like we do, you'll probably get something out of it. I but as a whole, I don't think I'll ever watch this again. I
No.
There was a lot of stuff in here that I thought took way too long to get to the point. You know, I did like the story. I did enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
The performance in this movie all around, other than Gina Gershon, they're all pretty bad, and
Oh
just
yeah.
and so I mean,
And
there's
even then, I feel like maybe I'm pushing it when I say I like Gina in this movie.
yeah, but I mean, like for her, it's just like I thought she really nailed the character they were trying to go for, and
Yeah.
but yeah, I can't say I would recommend it. Like I said, it's not really worth it, I guess. But
Mhm.
I don't regret seeing it. I'll say that.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's a really great way to put it. I don't regret seeing it. I had some good laughs. I had fun, but will probably never watch it again in my life. But yeah, I mean, so that's it. Double don't recommend, but I do want to talk about the Razzies really quickly. So this did win Worst Picture, and you want to know what it was nominated for or nominated with?
Yes,
It
please.
goes Congo, It's Pat, The Scarlet Letter, and Waterworld. Um, so I remember not liking Congo like at all. I remember kind of being bored by that one. And then I've heard It's Pat is just like horrible. I've never seen it though.
I've seen this, Pat, and I would I would probably pick. I mean, just the sheer scale of what they're going for Showgirls, I get it. I get why they
That
picked it,
yeah, it's a
but
Razzie thing, right? Like it's like a huge just movie, big budget flop, and I think they love picking those.
Pat is genuinely a bad movie. It's not
Yeah.
good. I mean, there's not there. I can't think of anything redeemable about that movie. So if I was truly going to pick worst picture, I would have picked that. But I can understand why this one won best worst picture. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure Waterworld was a close though, because that one was pretty notorious, like as a flop for then too. But that's a movie that's been also a little bit reappraised since its release.
yeah, but I can guarantee you we're going to talk about Waterworld one day, and then we'll know definitively which one.
Exactly. We'll know. Yeah, we'll have the correct opinion for everybody.
Yeah.
Kyle MacLachlan was nominated, but Pauly Shore beat him in Jury Duty, which is probably the correct choice. Elizabeth Berkley did win Worst Actress versus Demi Moore, who will have her day. Don't worry. In The Scarlet Letter, Cindy Crawford in Fair Game, Julia Sweeney in It's Pat, and Sean Young in Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde.
But you know what? I think she deserved it just simply because that performance should have been rewarded for something.
I totally agree. Robert Davi was nominated, but Dennis Hopper in Waterworld beat him, which is Dennis Hopper rocks in that movie. Gina was nominated. Worst Screen Couple went to Showgirls for any combination of two people or two body parts. Haha. Yeah. Worst Director, Worst Screenplay, Worst Original Song. Even though oh God. Okay, yeah. I didn't. The Showgirls song winning is weird because I think the songs were supposed to be bad in that. But yeah, I do think it's kind of messed up giving the Worst New Star award out. And then giving it to Elizabeth Berkley. That just feels like a slap in the face. Like, oh, welcome to Hollywood. Like, yeah, loser.
I feel really bad for her. I want to say that one more time because there's two things she's known for.
Mm-hmm.
Two very infamous things. It's this movie, and then she's known for Saved by the Bell, but for the very specific episode of Saved by the Bell where Jesse takes caffeine pills to stay awake. And she does this really, really bad monologue.
Yeah, and
she goes, "I'm so excited! I'm so excited! I'm so scared."
Right, I gotta wash my hair.
No, there's no time.
No time. There's never any time. I don't have time to study. I'll never get into Stanford. I'll let everyone down. I'm so confused.
Jessie, hey, just calm down. It's okay.
You're right.
It's okay.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
I just need one of these.
Pills? You mean you really are taking drugs?
I need them.
Jessie, give me those.
I need them, Zach. I have to sing.
Jessie, you can't sing tonight.
Yes, I can. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared.
Jessie.
But yeah, so it's funny. I've never really watched Saved by the Bell. I've seen a few episodes, but I thought that scene was in this movie. I was like waiting for that scene, and I was like, oh, okay, that's Saved by the Bell. I wish it was in this movie though.
That would have been like that would have been like an unstoppable bad movie that was in this movie. But
That's true.
No, I loved Saved by the Bell. I mean, it's very, very, very cheesy, and you weren't expecting good performances out of that show, but I thought for the role that she did on that show, I thought she was good in it. I didn't think of anything bad, but yeah, it's like it just feels kind of bad. But I did, since reading about this movie, is that she did have a pretty good nature about it. Kind of like haha, I was in Showgirls type of thing. So she doesn't let it get to her, even though they kind of did like spit her out like after this movie, and then like Hollywood the Machine did, and Paul Verhoeven, he was kind of he regretted like directing her in that way, but he did show up to the Razzies to accept the Razzie Awards.
Good for him. Good for
Paul. And he was there in all smiles and everything. So
good for him.
And the other interview I read, Kyle MacLachlan was just, he was just talking about like, you think you're making something really good, and then he said, he was just in the theater. And he's like, oh wow, that scene wasn't very good. And then you get to the next scene, it's like, oh, that one wasn't very good either. And then just he kept going on and on and on. He's just like, I was sat there suffering for 2 hours like everybody else.
That's so funny. Well, at least everybody knows.
Yeah.
But that does wrap it up for today. So Ryan, what are we talking about on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're not done with strippers. This is this is only the beginning. And Nathan, we're going to continue that trend by talking about the movie Striptease, and that is not available on any streaming service. You're going to have to pay up for that one, but trust me, you're not going to want to miss it either. It's only $2. It's worth that. I'll tell you that. I'll give you that clue.
Okay. Yeah. Worth a $2 stripper, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it sounds good. I'm excited. But if you want to email us, you can email us at driveanddoubleFeaturePodcast@gmail.com. You can X at us over at DIDFpod. Be sure to check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and our Patreon and Amazon. We got it all. But
Audible.
Yeah, Audible. But until next time.
Until next time.